And I hope that it's a very good evening wherever you are. It's 6 o'clock in the United Kingdom. We are in Hale Barnes, which is about 10 miles south of Manchester, and literally just across the road from us there is Manchester Airport. We're in the Marriott Four Seasons Hotel. And welcome to this Facebook Live broadcast. And there's a bunch of people in the room here, but it would be churlish of me not to introduce Ali Meredith, who's going to be my primary guest here this evening. Ali, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Chris.
Good.
How are you doing?
I'm very well. Ali confessed to me a few minutes ago that she's not the happiest person in the world when it comes to public speaking.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to pretend you're not there and just talk to each other through the camera. But I've got to share with you. Let me just hold this round. And there we have Cam and Chris, and there we have Sarah, who you'll be hearing from in a minute. And these are all the team from Dengro, who have very, very kindly travelled up here from their offices down in the Bath area, or Bath, depending on where you come from, and to share this time with me tonight. So what we've got is that although we're on full screen here, we've got in the team, I think, hopefully, we've got people, Cam and Chris are going to be looking to see whether any questions are posted onto the Facebook group as we go through. And we do encourage that. We know that it's July, it's sunny outside, and even though the football has finished, there are going to be people who are barbecuing or are out there fishing or sailing down canal boats or whatever it is. And we also know, I've had a load of messages from you to say that people are on vacation, and we've had a bunch of messages saying, oh my God, I'm on a beach somewhere and I'd really like to watch this. Will there be a recording of this available? And the answer is yes, there will. This Facebook Live broadcast is being recorded, and what will happen is that as soon as we finish the broadcast, Facebook will do what they do behind their stage, and they will turn it into something that will sit permanently on the Coach Barrow forum. That's the closed group of which you are a member. So don't panic. But if we do have any people who have joined us tonight, and if they have any questions, please type them in the chat box as you would normally do in a Facebook Live broadcast. And what will happen is that the guys will make a note of that. And what we're going to do in a minute, I'm going to talk to Ali for about 10 minutes to begin with, just to get a little bit of sense of background of where Dengro has come from, where she has come from, what it's all about. And then we'll be handing over to Sarah, who is our Dengro guru. She isn't actually sat on a chair, she is levitating 2 or 3 feet above the ground. But Sarah's going to take us through a live demo of Dengro on this screen. You'll be able to see the software actually working. So any questions around our conversation or any questions around the work that Sarah's doing, post them up there on the chat box, and the guys will keep them. And then when the Dengro demo has finished, we'll go back into a Q&A session. And if there's no questions, we'll go home. So let's go there. So Ali, thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here.
Pleasure. I'm very much about the people behind things like this. So I'd be really interested in hearing a little about, you are a co-founder of the company with, I think, Cam is sat behind me.
I am.
And so I'm interested to know where you've come from on this journey. Who are you? Where are you from? How did you end up in the software business, and how did you end up in the dental business?
Okay, well, I'll try and keep it fairly short. And I think probably like most things, I kind of fell into what we're doing today completely by accident. Back 20 years, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I went through the whole career advice at school and was one of those kind of people that just hit a bit of a brick wall. Fell into marketing and actually felt like I found my niche. I began right at the very bottom of the ladder. I made the tea, I put biscuits on a plate for people in meetings, but I learned a huge amount. And actually what got me really excited was understanding the psychology of people and how through marketing and through communication, we could really engage with them. My very initial job was working for a garage door company where I was a marketing assistant, helping people to sell garage doors. I've come a long way from then, and I'm now in the world of dentistry. And over the last kind of 20 years or so, predominantly I've been in the marketing agency world. And most recently, so kind of the last 10 to 12 years, have been focused on marketing in the dental world.
Okay.
So back in 2007,
Yeah, carry on.
Technical glitch. Back in 2007, I was working for a large ad agency based in London called Donor. And within the Donor remit, we had Align Technology as a key client. And we began working with Align in a very small kind of remit where we were doing banner advertising back in those days, creating display banner ads to direct consumers who were looking for alternative orthodontic treatment, and really began to raise awareness and fill the top of the funnel for Align for the Invisalign treatment.
So you know that pop-up that sits in every dental surgery in the world that's gone faded in the sunshine? That was you.
Cam and I, yeah.
Wow.
Way back in the day.
So did you ever actually meet that blonde?
Yes, I did actually. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, competition winner. Yeah, and she's now
all over the
everywhere.
country. Yeah.
But yeah, historically, what we really focused on then was consumer advertising across Europe. And doctor communication. So all of the communications that Align Technology send out to their certified providers, anything from the discount and the advantage scheme to new product launches, and really communicating the innovation that Align Technology are really focusing on.
So take me on the journey from a pop-up to a cloud-based software.
To where we are today. Back in 2013, I actually left Donor, moved on, and set up my own small dental consultancy, working with independent practices, just to give them a bit of a helping hand with their marketing in very basic terms. And my approach has always been what I refer to as inside out. So start with making sure that everybody within the practice knows what you offer, and then extend that out to paid for advertising, other external marketing activity, and begin to drive potential new inquirers into the practice. So I did that for about 18 months or so. And Cam, so co-founder of Dengro and who I'd previously worked with, had also left Donor at that time, and was focusing on creative projects and creative delivery for his clients. And we got to a point where I was giving work to Cam, and Cam was giving a bit of work to me, and over a number of glasses of wine and pints of beer, we kind of got our heads together and thought, actually, why don't we look at setting up our own smaller agency that focuses predominantly on what we call the health, wellbeing, and dental industries. And that's really where we are today. So through the work that we have delivered and the relationships that we've built with practices over many, many years, we identified a niche for software, for cloud-based software, which is Dengro.
Right. So if we were meeting each other at a networking event, and we had that kind of 60 seconds to get your message across, and I came over and said, would you like a vol au vent, and what do you do for a living? What would you tell me?
So elevator pitch, 60 seconds. Dengro is predominantly a lead management tool for practices. And really what that means when you break it down is providing a tool to practice staff, predominantly front of house, to help them manage new inquiries that come into the practice in a simple, ordered and organised way. The ultimate aim of doing that is to drive conversion through the practice. So every lead that comes into the practice could have a treatment plan value of anywhere from £500 to £20,000. And what Dengro enables the practice to do is work with that lead quickly and ultimately get them into practice for conversion and make them into a patient.
So we know, as far as the UK is concerned, there are statistics out there that would suggest that maybe 60% of independently owned practices are using Exact.
Yeah.
Maybe 20%, 25% are using R4.
Yeah.
There's about another 5 or 10% that are using all them other ones.
Mm-hmm.
And a remarkable statistic that I read about 6 months ago was that 17% of dental practices in the UK haven't bought a computer yet, which defies belief.
It's believable and unbelievable in the same way.
So they've still got beige patient record cards up the walls and manual pencils and appointment books. So we're going to have to leave those laggards behind.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people are going to say, well, hang on a minute, I'm already driving this practice management software, and now you're giving me something else to do.
Absolutely.
So what's the rationale behind that?
So what SOE and R4 and the other patient management systems are very good at doing is managing a person once they become a patient. So they are already a patient within your practice. You manage their appointments, you manage their treatment plans through that system. What they are not so good at doing, or they're more complicated at doing, is actually doing that nurture piece between the time somebody makes their initial contact with you as a practice, through to the point where they've come in, they've had their initial consultation, and they have what we refer to as treatment started. So they are now a patient in your practice.
Right.
At that point, we move the lead, because they're now a patient, over to the patient management system. So there's a very clear demarcation.
I get that. So my background was financial services for 25 years before I came into dentistry, and we would describe those people as prospects.
Yeah, absolutely.
And your objective was to turn a prospect into a client.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is you're turning a prospect into a patient.
Absolutely.
So that's the bones of it.
Yeah. And historically, what we have seen is people are doing that piece, or practices are doing that piece, but predominantly they're using post-it notes which are stuck on the reception desk, which peel off because they lose their stickiness and they get lost. That could be, a £5,000 Invisalign treatment plan. Or they're using an Excel spreadsheet, but the person who manages that is on holiday for 2 weeks and no one knows her password to get onto her computer.
All right. And you mentioned that Dengro is for use by front of house. That about 10% of independent dental practices in the UK are now working with either a full or a part-time treatment coordinator, let's call that TCO. It might be a statement to the obvious, but you're finding that TCOs are picking up Dengro and they're running with it.
Absolutely, and what we're actually finding is that Dengro is helping that TCO to organise their day. It becomes their Bible, for want of a better word, and we'll show you through the demo how that works, but it's giving structure to that treatment coordinator's day in terms of who they need to follow up, who's due in for an appointment, who have they not managed to get hold of yet. So it gives that kind of structure to it.
So we're almost ready for a demo. I'm just lining up our guru over there. But I'm one of those people where when there's a 60-minute presentation, I absolutely hate it when you get the sales pitch in the last 2.5 minutes. And you're sitting there thinking, well, yeah, but how much does it cost? So I want you to do your sales pitch now. And before we look at the demo, I want us to imagine that we're at minute 59. And there's 2 questions. The first question is how much? What does it cost to run this software? And the second question is that if anybody's listening to this broadcast, either live or recorded, what's the call to action? What do you want them to do?
Absolutely. So question number 1, Dengro is very easy to access. So we have no setup fee, we have no ongoing contract, and it is £99 per month per practice. You can have unlimited users within the practice using Dengro, and you pay not a penny more than your £99.
Plus that?
Including that.
Including that.
Including that, which we know is incredibly important.
That's very true.
Yeah.
So my price point is £99 including that, and that is it.
That is it. On top of that, you get an initial 30-day free trial. So if you want to dip your toe in, see how Dengro could work for you as a practice, we offer a 30-day free trial. We'll get you fully onboarded. We would do everything we would do if you were signing up and paying for that initial month. And it gives you a chance just to really understand how Dengro could work for you.
Sounds pretty good. And what's the specific call to action for people?
Specific call to action from today is to go to dengro.com, where you will find more information. And we have a big call to action button, which is trial. Sign up for a free trial. And at that point, if you submit the form, we will then pick up and be in contact with you to get you up and running for your free trial.
Couldn't be simpler. I am going to repeat something that I seem to find myself saying over and over again, but I'm going to anyway, which is that there is no commercial relationship between myself and Dengro. There's no affiliate fee. There's no introducers commissions. There's no foreign holidays. I've not yet seen an envelope full of money in the room at all. And as I always do, I like to bring good ideas to the marketplace. So I might get a pint out of this lot at the showcase, but you never know. But, or I might get them to support our charity bike ride.
Oh, we've already done that.
Oh, you've done it. I apologise.
You.
That's the biggest faux pas of the night, isn't it? Oh my God, Sheila Scott will kill me, absolutely kill me. So on behalf of the 5 of us, thank you so much for your sponsorship. So there you go. There's the members' declaration of interest. So should we get on with the demo?
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to hand you over to Sarah King, and she is the Dengro guru. So we're in very, very technological. I'm actually going to pass the MacBook over to Sarah, and you're going to lose me and Ali for a while, and we're going to go on to a full screen of the Dengro demo, and then when it's finished, we'll come back and we'll have a chat with you.
Great. Well, thanks very much for that intro, Chris. It's a lot to live up to, the title of Dengro Guru. Let's hope I can actually live up to that. As Ali's already kind of mentioned, and we've gone into, Dengro is that online lead management tool that is there to hopefully make the practice's life a little bit easier, give them a bit more structure to the day, and help convert more patients or leads into patients in the long run. The first place to kind of start would be, how do those leads find their way into Dengro? So there's a couple of different ways that a lead can enter the system. Firstly would be through any kind of online inquiry form that you might have on a practice website, or if you've got separate landing pages for online marketing that you're running. Anywhere where there's a form, essentially, we can connect to that form, and that will lead that information that a lead submits into Dengro, where we can start managing that. And obviously from a GDPR perspective, that makes everyone very happy, keeps it a little bit more secure, and means that we know where that information is and how it's being accessed. Another way that you could add a lead into Dengro is manually. So you might be getting those telephone inquiries from prospective patients. You might have walk-ins, or even existing practice patients who are interested in other treatments that you offer in the practice. That's no problem. We still want to be able to record and report on them. And so you can always add them into Dengro manually, simply by going up to the add button and just adding that new lead. And when you add that new lead in, it just enters the system in the same way as those automatic or those more online leads as well. And that's where Dengro can start kind of working its magic and doing a few bits and pieces with that lead. Now, when a lead does come into Dengro, as I say, we do a few things in the background for them, and that's all to help you guys out a little bit more. So the very first thing that we do with a lead when it enters the system is that we enter that lead into a sequence of automated messages that are sent out on the practice's behalf. The lead doesn't know anything about Dengro, but it just gives that lead a bit more support to nurture, and a bit of a nudge, a little nag to remind them that they've submitted their details. And it's there to help support that lead while you then work on the front lines, or the practice team does, to make those calls, have that conversation with the lead, and hopefully get them booked in for that initial appointment or consultation. So you can always pop in when you have your account and view those emails, but essentially they're there, just as I say, in the background to give a bit more support, and we can brand them to your practice using the logo. We pull in all your practice information automatically as well, and just support the lead as they're making their decision to choose you and your practice over any other competitors that they might have spoken to previously. Now, the second thing that Dengro will do for each and every lead that comes into the system is it assigns a task or an action to that lead. And that action or task is there displayed on the Today page to essentially tell the practice staff or whoever's managing the Dengro leads what they need to do on a day-to-day basis to make sure that each and every lead is being picked up, is being contacted, and is being followed throughout the entire conversion journey. So we want to make sure that we're not dropping any leads, we're not missing them, they can't slip through the cracks. So Dengro keeps on having a task assigned to that lead as long as you tell it that lead is still actively interested in treatment. So for the practice staff, really, it's just a matter of logging in first thing in the morning when they get into the practice, and then throughout the day working through their task list to make those calls or to send out those emails, and then essentially complete the tasks by telling Dengro what happened when they contacted each and every one of those leads. So we can take an example here perhaps. You can see that we've got a new lead here. And the task that Dengro is giving us today is that we need to call William for the first time in this instance to talk about Invisalign. So that's the treatment that William has suggested he's interested in. So for the practice, all they need to do is just click on that task pod, and that'll open up the task panel. And that first page just gives us a brief overview of any information that we have about William. So anything he might have submitted on that online form, or that you entered in when you added him manually. So we'll display obviously a few key bits, the mobile number, email address, and we can also give a snapshot as to where William came from. So if you are running those additional online marketing campaigns, perhaps through Google or Facebook, we can give you that background just so you know what William might already have experienced or seen about the practice. From there, then, it's really just a matter of reading the questions and prompts from Dengro and recording the answers. So did we try to contact William? Hopefully we'll say yes. And then Dengro just asks us to select from the drop-down menu, what was the outcome of that contact attempt? So maybe that we managed to speak to William, we've booked him in for that new appointment, in which case we can select that option and go through the process of recording the date and time that we've booked William in for. But it might even be in those cases, as we're all quite familiar with, I'm sure, that it's not so easy to get hold of leads that first time. And so we don't want to just drop them. And we might say to Dengro that we did try to call but didn't speak to them. We might have left a message. And then Dengro asks us to set up a reminder task, essentially. So we might have a process in the practice where we want to try and make 3 contact attempts over the period of a week, perhaps. In which case we can use Dengro to set up those reminders. So we can tell Dengro that we might want to try and be reminded to call William again, perhaps on Saturday if you're open. You might be an early bird wanting to be contacted early. We can tell Dengro how we try to contact them today, and then we can add any additional notes. Now, when we do click done for that task, that means that we've completed everything we need to do for William for today. We'll clear that particular task off the dashboard, and then we won't be seeing William again on our today page until Saturday, when a follow-up reminder task will appear that similar to this one here for Isabel. I'll say call William today at 8 a.m. to talk about Invisalign. And again, then it's just a matter of clicking on that task pod and working through the questions and prompts. So it's just that idea that those tasks will work very hand in hand with each other. Dengro will tell you guys what you need to do with that lead. It'll ask you what happened when you did it, and then ask you what you want to set up as that next follow-up task so that you can try and keep converting that lead and bring them all the way through to becoming a patient. So those are the 2 key things that Dengro do, and we have a couple of other features that can help out as well. So we do have a profile page that we build for each and every lead, and that page is there to help give a bit more information about that lead. So where they come from, who's spoken to them already, perhaps even where they live in relation to the practice if we have that postcode. So trying to make it as easy as possible for the practice to pick that phone up and have a conversation. Because it's all about building up, as I'm sure Chris has said to everyone before, building up that relationship and rapport with each individual lead to try and build up that trust as well and get them to become a practice patient. Now, from a more higher level view, perhaps for the principals out there, Dengro can also help you report and understand what's happening with your leads. So if you are adding those additional marketing campaigns on Google or Facebook, if you're running different landing pages and you want to see what's working best, who's bringing in the most leads for you, and how those leads are converting as well, we can show you that in Dengro too. So we track it all just to give you that overview. So initially we can give you that practice summary to see where all of your leads are in the conversion journey. And where they've come from as well. So perhaps which source is working out best, and maybe that's going to impact your plans on where you spend your marketing budget as well. Now we can break down that further and see a number of different types of reports to help you understand that a little better. So the lead generation report here can give you an idea perhaps of if you're seeing particular spikes of when certain numbers of leads are coming in, if you're perhaps noticing that you're getting a large number of leads coming in over the weekend. Do you need to try and improve or increase the number of staff members you have during those periods so that you can cover those calls and hit that kind of 2-hour golden window of opportunity of contacting them as quickly as possible after their initial inquiry. We can also, again, then break that down into glorious Technicolor to give you a better idea as well as to where the majority of your leads are coming from, again, just to better analyze that media spend and where we can increase it or decrease it as well. Now, from a team perspective, we do enable you to kind of have a better idea of how well your team are working, not only by using Dengro and making sure that they are completing those tasks on a day-to-day basis, but seeing as well how that process that you've got in the practice for managing your leads, how that's working out in the real world. So it might sound great on paper that you're making those 3 contact attempts over a period of a week, you're following up after consultations and such, but is it actually working for you in practice? So we can have a look and see, firstly, if you've got a particular Dengro champion in the team, someone who's really working hard, booking in most of those appointments, and how maybe you can share the knowledge that they have. But we also have the ability to break it down based on conversion and see if there's any particular areas within that journey or those status points where you're having a bit of a drop-off perhaps. So you might see that you're getting lots of leads in, but you're not actually managing to book any of them in for appointments. So you might want to then look at how you're approaching that initial phone call, perhaps improve the script or the knowledge that your practice staff have when they're making those calls, and see if we can get more appointment bookings. Likewise, it could be that you're seeing a big drop-off after that initial consultation or appointment, and perhaps it's then about how are you approaching treatment with the lead at the appointment, and how can you increase that conversion rate as well. Overall, though, the kind of main idea of Dengro is to try and make things as easy as possible. So we try to keep it as simple as we can, as basic and straightforward. As Ali mentioned, there's no big onboarding kind of process. It's very basic and just logging in and trying to work through your different tasks to get a better idea. But from my perspective, then that's kind of Dengro in a nutshell. And I think we'll hand back to Chris and Ali.
Okay, so back on, thank you, and thank you, Sarah. I really enjoyed that, and it's kind of one of those moments where I want to be a dentist, so that just so that or maybe maybe I want to be a TCO, just so that I can get to use it. Really, really nice, simple, straightforward, easy to follow, very, very well presented. I really got quite excited watching that.
Oh, that's really good to hear. And actually, you touched on something then which is really important to us, and that is the simplicity.
Yeah.
And we have had some initial feedback whereby there is a slight concern that it's something new to learn. And we have very purposefully kept the interface and the way that Dengro works for the practice as simple as we can, because we don't want to be adding more effort or more work for that person within the practice who is responsible for managing leads.
Okay, thank you. Now, can I encourage you? We've got loads and loads of time here to play with. So those of you that are still with us on the broadcast, if you do have any questions around any aspect of the software, then please do share them with us. I've been actually following on my own MacBook here as well, what's been going on, and it's great to see some of the people here. I'm not going to go through a whole list of names because I'll miss somebody out and they'll never speak to me again. But it's really, really nice to see some questions. Ingrid, lovely to hear from you. I'm going to pick up on your question, and I know that Chris has already answered online. But the question from Ingrid Godfrey here is, I've recently joined a practice that uses Dengro, and we currently only use Dengro for Invisalign leads. So how easy is it to add leads for implants too? Do you just want to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Super simple. So I imagine you're probably with a group or a network that only has access currently to one treatment type, which is Invisalign. All you need to do is make a simple phone call or drop a note through to Dengro online through the app. We have an online chat that runs throughout all of the practice hours, and we can upgrade you. It's super simple to do. The unlimited version of Dengro, which is the £99 version I mentioned, includes all of the main treatment types that a dental practice may include within their offering. So yeah, that's super simple to do.
So one fee, and if you've got a dozen different treatment modalities, you can just create a different stream for each one.
Absolutely, and they're actually all there pre-written. So the nurture sequences that sit behind Dengro that talk to the prospect before they become a patient are all specifically written with that treatment type in mind. So they help to keep that person warm in the background.
Thank you so much. Question, Matteo. It's so nice to see you on the call. Matteo is the marketing manager for a client of mine in Milan, ADEC, Italy. And so it's lovely to see you here this evening. Question from Matteo. Do I need the patient to sign a consent form if I want to manually add a new lead to the system?
Really good question, and no, in a nutshell, you don't. So, as Sarah mentioned, within Dengro, we actually we capture the consent that we have for that individual prospect, and getting a verbal consent over the telephone or if somebody comes into the practice is fine, and you would then mark that accordingly on that profile page within Dengro.
So it is inconceivable that there isn't somebody out there that's thinking GDPR So we might as well deal with it.
Absolutely. It's an acronym I'm very familiar with.
It's the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
So just talk to me briefly about Dengro and GDPR.
Yeah, very high level. So the really important thing to remember with Dengro is that it's the data processor. So the data that's captured for a lead or a potential patient is the practice's data. It's not our data. We can advise the practices on how they capture that lead data and the consent. And we will then capture whatever has been selected on a data capture form or a lead that has been added manually within Dengro. So it's very easy to see on a lead profile page what consent you have for them and whether you have the permission from them to communicate with them in the future. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, there's a very grey area with the whole GDPR regulation.
Yep.
And some practices that we're working with have opted to have a checkbox consent on their data capture forms where they're capturing lead data, and others are using their legitimate interest as their way of managing that GDPR expectation, because that person has proactively come to them and made an inquiry for a particular dental treatment with that practice.
Okay, good. Right, so that hopefully that's dealt with it, or there's going to be a storm of protests from people out there.
Actually, sorry to interrupt, Chris. I guess
go.
one more thing just to mention is that we know with GDPR that we need to offer a way of a consumer having their data deleted from anywhere that it's currently held. Again, that's very simple to do within Dengro. So if a lead has been captured for a practice, they then contact the practice and request for their data to be deleted. A task will appear in their Dengro dashboard, and we will delete that data, and that data will then be gone.
Okay, good, thank you. This is a question from me as a non-techie person, which is that if one practice signs up for Dengro, how many devices could this? That is a stupid question, isn't it? Because it's cloud-based. It's cloud. Let me just get this right, lads. So it's cloud-based. So if you've got 4 people in the practice, somebody can access it from an iPhone or one of those phones for less fashionable people, and somebody can access it from a laptop or a tablet.
Correct. Yeah, we have exactly. We have a lot of practices using tablets.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know why I asked them and not you.
That's fine. I think
it was a question that might have had a spanner in it.
There's a very good point to focus on quickly there, though, and we work with a lot of practices that have a generic email address for reception, which tends to be reception@dentalpractice.co.uk. What we really encourage users of Dengro to do is encourage all of their practice staff to sign up with their own email address for a number of different reasons, but most importantly, and Sarah touched on it in the demo, we can tell who has actioned a task and when they actioned it. So if within the practice there is a performance-related pay structure or a bonus structure, or the TCOs have a target to hit, within the individual user data within Dengro, we can very quickly and easily tell who's done what.
Right.
So we encourage as many individual users within the practice to create their own section.
Talk to me a little bit about the onboarding process. So if somebody signs up for the free trial, tell me what happens the next day.
So the next day, or hopefully the same day, you will receive a telephone call or an email if we can't get hold of you from probably Sarah or one of the members within the support team. And what we do from there is just handhold the onboarding process, which is incredibly simple. And again, we've kept that very simple to do. So we will do an initial overview for Dengro and all of the members within the practice that will be involved. And then we will do a short webinar at a time that is convenient to that practice. So usually that's lunchtime or at the end of the practice day. We will run through a demo very similar to the one that we've just done for you today. And we will answer any questions that come up. And really from there, you're kind of good to go. The piece that is the kind of missing puzzle, if that particular practice is investing money in external lead generation activity, they may have a Facebook campaign running with lead ads, or they may have a Google campaign running that links through to a landing page. We will work directly with either the practice or their web agency or their marketing or media agency to get the Dengro code. I'm not technical at all, so don't ask me anything further, but get the Dengro code integrated into that form so that we can capture the leads. We will handhold that entire process.
Right. Okay, smashing. Thank you for that. Ingrid has asked a supplementary question here, which I think she just wants absolute clarification, if I can quote. She says, I'll find out tomorrow what subscription we're on and speak to the practice owner and hopefully be in contact. But what is the extra cost, please?
So upgrading from one treatment to unlimited treatment would be £49 per month.
Okay, so they're on a lower subscription.
They will be
level.
on a single treatment subscription, which is £50 per month.
Okay.
So it would just be an incremental £49 per month.
Great. So I hope we got that, Ingrid. You're going on a journey from 50 to 99 inclusive of VAT.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we're okay. Right now, are you guys seeing any questions that I've missed on there?
No, we're all done.
Okay. So here's one from me. Which is, it's lovely to look at, it's easy to use, it's aesthetically beautiful, it's relatively low cost, but what's the ROI? Have you got any evidence around that, or does it just make everything pretty?
So it does two things. It makes everything. It does make everything pretty. We, again, as I've mentioned before, we've designed it in a way that is really simple to use, and we've made it aesthetically easy to use as well. More importantly, though, and if we're talking commercially, the whole point of Dengro, being very, kind of bullish about it, is to increase conversion within the practice. So £99 per month, £1,200 per year. If Dengro can help you to convert just one more Invisalign patient, for example, you've made your money back.
Yeah.
Now, the really great thing about Dengro and using it ongoing is the data that we capture in the background. So Sarah touched on the reporting very quickly, but actually we can tell, what's the time that it's taking your practice staff to follow up on a lead. If it's anything over what we would usually call a 2-hour window within business hours, you've potentially lost that lead. If we can identify that for you through Dengro, and we can give some training, or the practice identifies that some perhaps telephone training is needed, that can very quickly have an impact on the number of people that get booked in for consultation, and then ultimately get booked in from consultation through to becoming a patient. So we use the data in the background to highlight opportunities for the practice to improve their task list, their workflow, which very quickly becomes black and white from a return on investment point of view.
And you've been running the software now for
2 years.
2 years.
2 years in its beta format. Yeah.
So you will have had some feedback from people.
Yeah.
What would be your top tips for a new user in around obvious mistakes to avoid?
Yeah. Okay. So there's kind of a couple of things. The first is where Dengro really works and comes into its own is where it's being utilised in a practice that has ambition and wants to grow. Because ultimately it's about taking people that are making an inquiry and pushing them through to become a patient, ultimately. If that isn't a vested interest for the practice, Dengro won't work. It will be another bit of software or cloud-based software that gathers dust because no one's using it. So first and foremost, have a hungry ambition to grow. Secondly, have a champion or an ambassador within the practice. And what we really find is when there is somebody who owns Dengro, the practice and the patient conversion increases considerably, because you've got that one person who has a view on the leads that are coming in, how long it's taking them to contact, where those leads are coming from, which leads them are more likely to convert. And then that helps to inform and optimize plans within the practice moving forward. So have a champion and really get stuck in is kind of key. The third thing I'd say, which has become more and more apparent as more and more people use it, is for the business owner or the principal dentist to get involved. And actually the reporting that's in the background gives them a bird's eye view of how many inquiries have come in the last week. What's the average treatment value, which is against those inquiries, and if they were to convert at the conversion rate, which we can tell within Dengro, bottom line, what does that mean for the practice from a commercial point of view? We work with a lot of practices who are now using Dengro as the agenda for their weekly practice meetings, which is incredibly motivating as well, because when you can see black and white how many leads, what they're worth, and what you're converting, it just gives everybody that extra kind of push and motivation. So yeah, that I think that's probably what.
Thank you. Let's talk about specialist referral practices, because it's a different patient journey.
Yeah.
The evidence is obviously that the conversion rate is much higher because it's been a GDP referral.
Yeah.
But if I work with a lot of specialist orthodontic practices, and I also work with a lot of multidisciplinary specialist referral practices. Just talk to me about the benefits of Dengro for those people.
So we have recently launched a new release within Dengro which manages referrals. So historically, and you probably know this more than I do, but historically you would have a referral from a dentist to a specialist via email, or perhaps they pick up the telephone and say, I've got a patient that I'd like to pass over to you. Not particularly secure from a data point of view, and could quite easily get lost. And you have a patient and their expectations there to kind of meet. So Dengro now, in addition to capturing leads from marketing activity, will also capture leads from a referral form on a specialist's website. And what that does is then enable the referrer and the referee to have access to that data and communicate to each other, whilst also communicating to the patient in terms of whether that specialist is suitable to pick up that treatment for that patient.
That's really good.
So that's all incorporated within Dengro.
Okay, thank you. And let's talk about multi-site, because that's obviously a fairly new development. Again, I'm seeing more micro corporates in the client base, 3 to 6 to 8 locations. Cloud-based is an obvious answer, but just talk to me about the practicalities of multi-site.
Yeah, and again, we have we've observed that is a model which is becoming more and more familiar, more and more frequent, and we have the functionality within Dengro for a business owner or the owner of a group of practices to have a bird's eye view of 3, 4, 5, 6 practices within the group, whilst also giving the individual practice just their own view of what's happening within their location. So we are set up and we're structured to create mini groups or mini corporates, which give the principal or the owner the data that they need, but also locks down the access to that individual location.
Right, and the financial question is, how does that look?
So £99 for the first practice, as we've already talked about, and then £25 per month for any additional practice.
Wow, okay, so that's a bit of a no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the data that you get back up, I can tell, I like data, you can probably tell I talk about it a lot. But again, the data that the principal or the owners can get from looking at that view across all of those locations is invaluable, and it will really help to identify perhaps which practice is performing better than others.
All right, thank you. Amanda Small, my friend from Helens Bay Dental Practice in Northern Ireland, who I will be meeting in about 24 hours from now, actually 26 hours from now. I'm over there tomorrow morning. So hi Amanda, thank you for joining the call. I'm sure that we will be talking about this. Let me just get the tech back on, there we are. I've got no doubt this is going to be high on the agenda when I walk through the door tomorrow morning. Question from Amanda, predictably pragmatic, is how many practices are currently using the system?
Good question. So we've currently got just over 200 practices in the UK using the system, and within that we've got, sorry, I've just been corrected, 250 practices in the UK.
That's since
My apologies. 250 practices in the UK and about 600 users across those practices.
All right. So, Amanda, I hope, well, it obviously answered your question, but I hope that's useful information. Go on.
Sorry, I was going to say one thing that might be useful to reference with that as well. I mentioned earlier we've been in beta for a couple of years. We're now officially out of beta. I don't really know what that means, but no. We are. But what we encourage our users to do, and we are very open to ideas, feedback, thoughts, things we're missing, things that don't work in the way that perhaps a practice would want them to. So we are ever evolving and improving how Dengro works for that practice. And all of those practices that are using it are feeding back to us on a daily basis, which is really invaluable for us.
So given the format that we're in, is there a Facebook group for Dengro users?
There isn't at the moment, but there will be.
Seems pretty obvious, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's something actually that we have talked about. We just need to get ourselves organised and set it up. Yeah.
All right. There was something I'm going to ask you. It's just gone completely out of my head. What was it? We were talking about micro corporates, weren't we? and lordy. Never mind, it's gone. It'll come back in about 3 hours. Okay, so we did get a number of practices, and I think we might have got to the end of our questions. Is there anything out there that we've missed? No? Okay, so we don't have to talk for 59 minutes and 59 seconds. What we do is we keep on going. Is there anything else for anybody in the room? The Dengro team, or part of the Dengro team, are here. So, from anybody of you, is there any question that you wish somebody had asked so that you could tell them the answer, and they haven't actually asked us yet? Anything at all, or do you feel like you've had a proper job?
Ali's done a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think you're going to be a keeper. Okay, all right, well, in which case, unless somebody suddenly fires up onto the chat line, and I don't think they're going to. Oh, I know what it was. I've just remembered what I was going to ask. One more question. I mentioned earlier that we had Matteo here from Milan. Talk to me about international usage. I'm off to Australia in 21 days from now. I'm going to be standing up in front of a group of people in Sydney, and I'll probably be showing them Dengro as in the marketing piece. I'm working in India. I'm hoping to work in South Africa. Okay. I've got a client that is going to be watching this over in Boston. Talk to me about Dengro Int.
Dengro Int is a thing. Dengro Global is a thing, which I'm really pleased to share. First and foremost, the UK market was our kind of core. We are already running in Latin America, so we have Dengro running in Brazil, and we are in conversation with lots of people across the globe, predominantly Austria, and we are talking to people in India and Australia as well. The way that we have built Dengro means it's very easy for us to localize, and that is localizing the content for the app, the platform that the practice uses, but also all of the automations that are sent out in the background to somebody who's made an inquiry before they become a patient. So we're kind of well set up, for that. The only thing that we go through from a due diligence point of view is really getting our teeth into understanding the data protection regulations within each of those new markets. And as I mentioned earlier, although Dengro isn't responsible or we're not held kind of culpable for that data, it's in our best interest to be able to advise users within each of those markets, and that's the process that we're currently going through now.
So if there's somebody watching this broadcast either live or a recording and they're in some far-flung port,
let us know where you are and where absolutely.
You're happy for that conversation?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions that you need? No. All right, in which case, thank you. I've thoroughly enjoyed that. Isn't it a nice change to be talking about something positive in dentistry? I've got to tell you, no names, no pack drill, but I had a telephone call from an LDC member. I'm not even going to go near the geography. Somebody rang me up who was a member of an LDC committee at home this afternoon and said, Chris, could you come and talk to us one evening fairly soon? Because basically I went to a meeting the other night and they all just wanted to throw themselves off a bridge. And so it's really nice to be talking about something that's new, it's fresh, it's growing, it's a success story already, and I've got no doubt it's going to continue. And of course, ultimately, the bottom line is that it's going to help you to run your lead conversion systems within the practice, turning prospects into patients more effectively, more efficiently, and in a way that I think that your team members are going to enjoy using as well. So frankly, for 99 quid a month, what's not to like about that? If I was a dentist, I'd be signing up. In fact, I want a version of Dengro that helps me to manage my coaching leads. Can you do that? Dengro?
That's not the first time we've heard that question. Not about coaching, but about lots of
Dengro for coaches, please. Can I order one up? So for all of you that have taken the time out this evening, we really, really appreciate your attendance. And for those of you in the future who have taken a bit of time out to watch the recorded version of this, same goes. Let's finish just very quickly. £99 a month for the unlimited version, including VAT. And all you got to do is, the website again was
Dengro.com, and click on the free trial button.
Smashing. Thank you very much, Ali. Thank you, the Dengro team. Thank you, Sarah, for the demo. And thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.